Now, we all know that the motorcycle audio category is thriving, and there are so many players vying for a position within this category. But isn't it curious that there is a European based company that's come into the fold providing product for this category? We're talking about Hertz Audio, and this is going to be an interesting one. We've got CHRIS MCNULTY, their product expert, in the studio with us today, and we're going to get you all the details. This is CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM, all about Hertz Audio. And it starts now. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another CMA Networks presentation here, presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and we are talking motorcycle audio, but a really interesting one today, a European brand, the brand Hertz Audio. Fantastic DSP, amplifier, speakers, high-end, you name it. But did you know they've come up with some pretty cool solutions in the motorcycle audio space? Now, as mentioned, we've got their product expert, CHRIS MCNULTY, joining us today. Chris, what are we going to be covering today?
Hey guys, I'm excited to finally be on CMA. Thanks for having me. So today we're going to go over some of our motorcycle specific gear. We've got some brand new lid kits that are available with plug-and-play harnesses for our amplifiers. We'll go over the entire lineup of speakers, the two new amplifiers that we have in the lineup, as well as DSP. So a lot of really cool stuff to cover.
Chris, I'm so happy we finally got you on here, brother. And we're going to talk about Hertz Audio motorcycle gear. But before that, a quick word from our sponsor, SiriusXM, and a message from dealers that remind us why they love being SXM dealers. When we come back, Hertz Audio, motorcycle audio.
Hey guys, Ricky Lima here from SiriusXM. I had a chance to speak to some dealers and ask them what they love about selling SiriusXM. Here's what they had to say.
Coast-to-coast coverage.
I love SiriusXM for commercial-free music.
It's a great add-on sale and a profit opportunity.
We love selling SiriusXM because you can listen to the same channel coast to coast.
Profitability and ease of installation. It's a no-brainer.
We love selling SiriusXM for its ease of installation, great profitability, and reliability.
People love it.
All right, welcome back, everybody. To get this show started right, I had to reach out to the powers to be because there's got to be a story here how a European company like Hertz Audio has gotten themselves involved in motorcycle audio. So who did I reach out to? Well, none other than the co-president of Electromedia USA himself, Mr. Steve Bolden. Now, Steve, I know there's a story here, but I wanted to hear it from in your words. Give us a little bit of a background how this whole thing came to be that Hertz Audio is now in motorcycle audio.
Hey, Ben, first of all, again, thank you for having us on, and we really appreciate it. So when we started looking at the motorcycle kits, probably late 18, early 19, we had gotten word that a lot of the kit manufacturers were going to be making them. So we kind of held off to see what was going to happen. And then after COVID, everyone started getting back to work. We got back together and started hearing a lot from our dealers how they needed a Hertz specific kit. So we started doing some research, started looking at it, and from there we were able to reach out to a couple of manufacturers, get some designs, talk to Italy, because this is probably one of the few times where it's a joint venture with them as far as using their name on something that's primarily an American product. So we were able to work with them as getting some of the kits made and getting the stuff done. But when we developed it, the key thing was okay, how can we make it better? How can we make it Hertz? And most of the cut kits were all done really well. The only thing we could see is we could make a couple small improvements. We did obviously some brass fittings and different things like that on them, but cosmetically was where we felt we could probably make the biggest impact. And when we did that, we started looking at how can it be recognizable just from, just by looking at it. We know when you hear the product, you're gonna notice right away how good the product is. But we wanted somebody to be able to recognize it right from the bag. And we started looking at designs. We came up with this. And the most important thing for us was, I like to call it the Hyundai Genesis we didn't want, when we looked at all the other kits, you couldn't tell whose was what. And I kind of reference it to the Genesis when you see it on the freeway and you thought it was a new Bentley. And then you felt silly that you confused the Bentley for a Hyundai Genesis. And we wanted it to be clear. And I think that's what we did. And when we took it to SEMA, we had a lot of our reps scared because we weren't the same kit like everybody else. They weren't sure how it would be perceived and what people would think of it. And I truly think right now we hit a home run. I think most of the feedback, or at least all the feedback I've heard so far, has been that they like that it's different. They like that it's unique looking.
All right, that was co-president Mr. Steve Bolden giving us a little bit of insight as to how the development of the motorcycle kits came to be. But now we're going to get right into it. I'm going to get Chris McNulty back in here. Chris, I think we should start from the very top. Let's talk about the bundled kits that you have available. There's a great selection there. Help us break them all out so dealers have a better understanding of what the selection actually is.
Awesome, Ben. So the bundled kits are what we're the most excited about right now. We've been a pretty big player in motorcycle audio for the past 3, 4, 5 years with our SPL show line of products, speakers primarily, and a few different amplifiers. But what we've done recently with our own sort of engineering and our own R&D is we've come up with what we think is the best looking cut-in kit, the highest performance cut-in kit that's available on the market. And that's kind of the first piece that we're offering that's very Harley specific. And essentially it's going to be our bag lid kit for our SPL show SX690 Neo with plug and play harnesses. So that's kind of kit number 1 within the setup. Kit number 2, because again, there's a number of people that are just looking for a speaker upgrade, what have you. Not everybody is looking for an amplifier. However, the rest of the kits are amplifier specific. So we have our SP 4.900, which is our flagship motorcycle amplifier. It's 160 watts a channel, fits in the fairing of most of the current bikes from 14 and up and many of the 13 and down bikes. So the first kit is going to come with that amplifier, plug and play harnesses, a backbone wire to go to the battery, and a set of fairing speakers, which are going to be our SX165 Neos. This is a really neat speaker. It was recently rebuilt with the Neo Magnet, and when we rebuilt the speaker with the Neo Magnet, we made sure that it mounts perfectly in the Harley mounting holes. So kit number 1 is the amplifier, wires and cables, all plug and play, and a set of upper speakers. Kit number 2 expands on that because it is a 4-channel amplifier. We have the ability to run more than just the upper fairing speakers. Kit number 2 comes with a second set of speakers for the lowers and the associated wires and cables that are going to be required there. So essentially it's kit number 1 plus a set of lowers. The third kit is probably going to be the most popular. The third kit is going to be the amplifier. It's going to be the wires and cables that are going to be plug and play. It's going to be the upper fairing speakers. Not all bikes have lowers, but most of these bikes are going to have bags. So the third kit is going to give you the amplifier, the front fairing speakers, the cut-in kit, and the SX690 Neo. So 165 watts per corner. You're going to be able to start a rock concert in a parking lot pretty much and be able to listen at whatever volume level you want to listen at while you're doing 90 on the highway. So it's going to be a pretty neat setup, and I think this will be the most popular. It's a combination of all the pieces of the puzzle all in one box.
All right, Chris, thanks for breaking it out for us, the type of kits that are available. But let's go even deeper and let's take a closer examination of each component that are included in these kits, starting with the speakers. Now, I understand, as you mentioned, these speakers derive from an existing set of SPL show series from Hertz Audio. Talk to us about the details regarding the design and performance of these particular drivers.
Exactly, Ben. The SPL show has been a lineup that we've had for a while. It's designed to be more of our pro audio, super output type of speaker. Part of the design parameters in that particular line of speakers is weather resistance. So it is from a sonic signature standpoint, it's a paper cone, but it's a treated paper cone with water resistance, which makes it really, really durable outside. The motorcycle, the easiest way to put it is it is not waterproof. It is not designed to be submerged, but if you're out riding the bike and it's raining, if you're willing to be on the bike, the speakers are willing to be on the bike with you, and they're gonna survive. So the design of the speakers is, number one, paper cone for the best sonic accuracy. Number two, neodymium magnet for better power handling and lighter weight. One of the things to me that's important, and to a lot of the riders that I deal with, is to not change how the bike rides. When you put these big bulky speakers up in the fairing, a lot of times it changes the characteristics of the bike. The weight balance changes and it becomes a little bit more difficult to ride. What we did with the neodymium magnets on all of our new SPL show speakers is we ensured that we had the ability to improve the audio from a quality perspective, improve the volume, which is huge on the bikes, but also not detract from the characteristics of the ride, because these riders are not buying the bike to listen to music. They're listening to music on the bike that they bought. One of the other neat things that we've done with the speakers, with the 690 Neo, as well as the SX165 Neo, the tweeters have a self-resetting circuit breaker. What we have found is that purposefully or inadvertently, many motorcycle guys take things to extreme. They take it beyond where they probably should, and we've seen other manufacturers have tweeter reliability issues because the tweeters can't handle quite as much power, or the distortion that the rider doesn't really understand that's happening as they're doing 90 on the highway. What we've done is we've incorporated a self-resetting circuit breaker into the tweeter circuit. It'll drop the tweeter level down about 6 dB if it gets to a certain temperature, and then once it cools back down, it'll reset itself and give you full output down the road. It gives you the ability to continue to have sound at the volume levels that you're looking for without destroying the speakers, and reliability is key. Now, as you can see here, we do have the SX690 Neo alongside its little brother, the SX165 Neo. One thing that you'll notice with the 690 is the 690 is a full range speaker. It plays down to 40 Hertz. It has a 1.4-inch tweeter and a 3/4-inch super tweeter at the top, so it is a true three-way. And as we flip it over, Phil's got it in his hand. If we take a look at the back, you'll notice what looks to be a small, petite, little magnet. But when you realize that that's a Neo magnet, and you realize the amount of power potential that a Neo magnet that size has, you realize that this thing is a monster. We've done a number of these in different applications where it's the only low frequency driver and it plays extremely well. And having the three-way aspect with the 1.4-inch and the 3/4-inch tweeter at the top, it gives us the ability to play all the way up to 20,000 Hertz without any issues. When we take a look at the little guy, its little brother, the SX165 Neo, one of the things that I do like to remind people, this is a mid-range that's super high efficiency. If we take a look at the back, we can also see on this guy, it does have the Neo magnet. Though it looks small and dainty, it is an absolute powerhouse. The thing to realize about the 165s is they do not play low, they do not play bass. So that's why the 690 in the back is an important component to putting a well-rounded audio system together in the bikes. But with the same type of Neo magnet, it's going to fit without any modification to the bike. The mounting holes are going to mount to the bike perfectly. But it does have, with the additional output, it essentially gives you the output of 3 of our traditional Mille Pro mids without the bass response. So you do have to make sure that you do protect that speaker at about 100 Hertz and up, where on the 6x9 you can allow it to play all the way down to the bottom without adding a sub to the system. So it's a great component set. Pairing one with the other gives you a full rounded, ridiculously loud system that's going to overcome the road noise, the wind noise, the noise of the pipes, all the cool Harley stuff. You've got the ability to listen to music while you're enjoying that as well.
Now, when it comes to the amplifiers, obviously, when it comes to the motorcycle environment and amplifiers, certain criteria need to be met. A certain level of performance, a certain level of robustness, and also footprint is also, a consideration. So when it comes to the amplifiers in the SPL show series that are part of these bundles, Chris, how do you feel these fit the bill?
So with the amplifiers, we've had a number of power sports amplifiers available in the past. Our HMP line, which did a pretty decent job. They would fit in the Harleys. They would give us the reliability. They're IP rated, conformal coatings, the whole deal. They would sound great, but they just didn't have the power. Our old HMP 4D was 50 watts a channel. Really didn't didn't excite the Harley crowd. So when we went back to the drawing board with the SPL show line of amplifiers, we really knocked it out of the park. The initial amplifier in the lineup is the big brother, which is the SP 4.900. Instead of 50 watts a channel, we increased the size about 20%, but it does about 160 watts a channel. So we've more than tripled the output. The amplifier is fully bridgeable. We have the ability to go 500 watts aside if we needed to at 4 ohms. So from a power perspective, we've absolutely overshot the mark. We've got all the power that you need. But on the flip side of that, the other important things to understand about that amplifier is we are using our advanced Class D circuitry. So not only is it an amplifier that hits numbers on a meter, it's an amplifier that makes music and sounds good. So it's an enjoyable amp. We found that many of our dealers are using this amplifier in other environments other than Harley and power sports. They're using them in Jeeps because of the rugged environment there. And because of such a small footprint, the amplifier is designed to fit in the fairing of the Harley. Because the footprint is so small and the power is so large, people are finding other interesting places to put them in, small sports cars, Corvettes, little BMW Z4s, because they fit and they sound as good as any of our other Hertz amplifiers. So that's a big advantage there. Another advantage that we have is in these amplifiers, we've built in our USS circuitry. USS is our Universal Speaker Simulator, which is a circuit that keeps factory amplifiers from becoming upset that they're not seeing the speaker load that they're looking for. So within the Harley environment, if you disconnect the factory speaker from the factory amplifier, a code will populate in the background on the radio. With the USS feature, we've eliminated that issue entirely. Beyond that, from a control perspective, it's got speaker level input, has RCA level input, as well as fully adjustable crossovers. Conformal circuit board, IP rated, salt fog tested. So it is built for the abuse that the Harley will give it. It is built to give us the power that we need. Coming hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days, we'll have the little brother, the SP 4.500, which is going to look very, very similar. It's about 20% smaller. Instead of 150 watts a channel, it does 90. For many customers, that's going to be plenty of power. It's also bridgeable to 300 watts a channel. So we are expanding the line. I have heard tell that there may be more offerings within the SP line of amplifiers. That remains to be seen. We do have the 4.9 in stock and shipping, and the 4.5 is right around the corner. So we've got a couple different performance levels that are available, and they all share all the Hertz amplifier characteristics: great sound, great capability, and an installation that allows for just about any application that's out there. And now let's take a look at the amp. This is the SP 4.900. What you will notice is there are no terminals on the side of the amplifier. Everything is pigtailed to keep it sealed, to ensure that no moisture, no humidity, no dust gets into the amplifier to keep the reliability. The other side of the amplifier is where all the controls are located. And as we look at it, you're not going to see many because we do have a cover over the top. Those are also sealed when the amplifier is in go configuration. Those screws are removable. The crossover, the input sensitivity, all of the controls are going to be back behind that panel. The neat thing about this piece is if you look at it in Phil's hand, which is a pretty good size hand, but it's still a really, really small amplifier designed and developed to fit specifically into the Harley. A little set of strippers will give you a really good idea of the overall size. Baby brother to the 4.900, which will be the 4.500, I believe shares the exact same extrusion. It's about an inch or so less wide left to right. So it's going to be a little bit easier to fit multiple amps if you want to do a more complicated system with component tweeters, mid-bass drivers in the back. Having multiple channels is going to be helpful. But we're going to keep that same look, feel, audio, capability, same type of connectors. Once the 4.500 becomes available, we are going to have different levels of performance where we can go with the smaller amplifier as a stage 1 and then upgrade to the larger amplifier if you do want some more output. So again, 165 watts by 4 on this amplifier right now, 160 and 90 watts by 4 on the SP 4.500 when it becomes available.
Now, Chris, the next topic is one that, well, certainly has a lot of mystique behind it because DSP is becoming more and more relevant within the motorcycle audio space. So I'd like to hear, in your words and your opinion, why that is. What is the relevance of DSP for this category? And what solutions does Hertz Audio bring to the table when it comes to DSP?
Well, DSP is where the magic happens. I'm a big proponent of DSP. I've been installing Electromedia DSPs since they became available back in 2008. In the SPL show lineup, we have just released in the last year the S8 DSP, which is specifically designed to handle the rigors of motorcycle audio, the vibration, the heat, the moisture, the humidity, all of that. It's a conformal coated circuit board. It's sealed connections. It's absolutely tiny. The amplifier itself is about the size of a deck of cards stacked, too high. So an amazing piece of product with an amazing amount of flexibility. What we've found is that within the motorcycle environment, there are so many different anomalies within the factory tune of a Harley radio or just speakers in different locations. There's so many different aftermarket options that are available to allow for larger speakers or different speakers on different parts of the bike. Having the ability to control them is very important. I kind of liken DSP to a race car. You can have a race car with all the horsepower in the world, with the best tires in the world, get all the grip in the world. But if you don't have suspension and you don't have steering and you don't have brakes, you can't control any of that. And what DSP does is it gives you a level of control that you don't have without it. Having the ability to set a crossover exactly where you want it to be gives you the ability to get a little bit more out of each speaker in the bike. You can get a little bit more out of that SX165 Neo if you cross it over at 100 Hertz at 24 dB per octave, because it's not playing anything that it's incapable of playing. You have the ability to set time delay, so you can couple the rear speakers with the front speakers based on the listening position so that everything is hitting the rider at exactly the same point. So it eliminates phase anomalies and delays and loss of overall output. The other really cool thing that we did with S8 DSP, and it's our first foray into using anything other than a Windows PC to set up the DSP. The S8, of course, will work with a Windows PC as far as setup. It will also work on Mac. Additionally, it is iOS enabled and Android enabled. So you can use a tablet or a phone to set up and control the DSP. The other interesting thing that we've done, which I didn't realize was so cool until I talked to more of the motorcycle guys, we have a DRC portion of the software, and DRC is our digital remote control. Traditionally, it's been a little box with a display and some numbers and a knob, what have you, to give you the ability to control your presets or to control your sub level or control your volume. We did not create a DRC specifically for the S8 because we utilized Bluetooth connectivity. Within the S8 software, you have a DRC mode, and within that DRC mode, with your phone mounted to the handlebars of your bike, you can control overall volume, you can control sub-level, you can change sources, you can change presets. All of that is done at your fingertips while you're riding the bike. The display itself, the volume is a rotational display on your phone. And I thought it was a glitch in the software when I first used it. As I rotated it one full rotation, it only turned up about a quarter of the way. And I couldn't understand why until the engineers explained it to me. As you're riding your bike down the road, if you accidentally hit a bump as you're rotating that, you can go from 0 to 11 in a blink of an eye, and that could be very problematic. So what they did is they set the volume knob up that you have to rotate it 3 or 4 full times to get full volume. What it does is it gives you a much more finite volume adjustment. So these are the things that we've built in to the apps from a usability standpoint for day-to-day use. The DSP is not always about getting the most finite details and image and staging. It's about getting the most control over the system that you can possibly get. And with that control, you end up with more output and more usability. So it's been a big piece of the puzzle for us. And again, the physical size, the way that it was designed, the ability to interact with it while you're riding on your phone has just been an amazing upsell for us. And here we have the S8. So if you take a look at this guy, it is absolutely tiny. It'll fit in the fairing, back behind a speaker, especially using the SX165s. You know, we're not taking up any additional space. Very, very compact amplifier. The only controls that you're going to see on the front are the update switch. You're going to see the status display for the Bluetooth, the status display for the unit, and everything else is a plug-in harness. So we have the ability to be flexible as far as the inputs and outputs. Again, the S8 is going to, just like the SP4.900, is going to give us the ability to take speaker level input. It has up to 6 channels of input. And most of the bikes we're only using 4 channels, but if we needed to, we've got 6 channels of input. It has 8 independent channels of output. So if we wanted to do a more elaborate system, run our bullet tweeters, higher frequency drivers with more output, we have the ability to do that. The other neat thing about the S8 is it does also incorporate our USS feature, our Universal Speaker Simulator. So rather than having to put load resistors and have the right values and hope that the radio doesn't freak out, literally all you have to do is plug the factory wires from the Harley radio into our DSP. The Harley radio is going to be happy as happy can be. Nothing's going to populate in the screen as far as any error codes or anything like that. Just gives us the ability to really control the setup and gives us the flexibility to put it just about anywhere in the fairing.
Well, Chris, we've taken a tour of all the products and all the components that Hertz is offering within motorcycle audio. So the question is, when it comes to a dealer and they're thinking about which lines to carry, why do you feel at this point that Hertz Audio is a serious contender within the motorcycle audio category?
Well, Ben, as far as why we're a contender in the motorcycle category, I've got a very interesting take on that. 5 or 6 years ago, we were selling our SPL show gear, which was kind of a line of speakers that we were using predominantly in Europe, that are built at our La Voce facility in Italy, that were just very, very high output, very durable. They could take abuse, they could play loud. And the motorcycle industry, the motorcycle sort of environment sort of took a look at those, and they had a bunch of other offerings from other manufacturers and realized that, hey, they don't play as loud as we want them to do. They're not as reliable as we want them to be. They don't have the weather resistance that we need them to have on our bikes. So we sort of happened into motorcycle audio. We didn't mean to do it initially. That being said, once we realized what the market was doing with our speakers and where they were being installed and how they were being used, we took our engineering prowess and we went back to the drawing board. We said, hey, we've become a player in this industry, in this portion of the industry, inadvertently. Now we're going to put together our resources, our development, our engineering, and we're going to improve. We're going to make steps to move forward. With the SPL show speakers, again, on the 165, we repositioned the mounting holes so that they mount in the Harley. We added the neodymium magnets for more power handling, more heat dispersion, and better balance on the bike. We've done the self-resetting circuit breakers, and understanding that the guys in the motorcycles are going to take it to extreme and then go even beyond that in some instances. And we want them to be able to turn it back on the next day and still be able to enjoy it. With the amplifier, we had a great sort of power sports amp in the HMP4D, super reliable, super compact, but not super loud. We didn't have the necessity to have a 100 to 150 watt amplifier that was waterproof and small. We realized that we needed to do that to compete in this market, and we took all of our Hertz design philosophies and our performance philosophies and put them together and built the SP4.900. We also took what we've known for, as long as any of the manufacturers out there about control, about DSP, and we designed and developed a piece with our decade and a half of engineering and experience within the DSP realm. We developed a DSP that works specifically in motorcycles, however, is still flexible enough to work in boats and to work in side-by-sides and to work in automobiles. The first S8 that I ever installed went into a Honda Accord. It's a super flexible piece, but it was developed and designed to meet all the criteria that was involved in making sure that a motorcycle could sound as good as possible and be as reliable and have as much performance as it could have. So I think we're a player because, number one, we make great gear, period. And now we've adapted that great gear specifically to hit very targeted, I guess targets. We set out a target in front of ourselves that we needed to hit. We needed an amplifier to make X amount of power and to be a certain size. We did that, but we also made sure that it sounded like a Hertz product. So if I put this in a BMW 5 Series and you listen to it, you would be equally as impressed as with any of our other gear. But it happens to fit very, very well in a Harley. So again, our engineering and our purposeful approach at becoming a very big player within the motorcycle space, I think that's what sort of stands us apart. We got into it accidentally. Now we're purposeful in all of our design. And again, when we go to the kits, we designed a kit that was specifically going to do what most other kits did, but do it just a little bit better. If we can't do it better, we're not going to do it. And so that's kind of our focus. And across the board, everything that we've done has been an improvement of something that's already happened, something that we had on the shelf that we were selling for another environment, and now we're doing it purposefully for the motorcycle guys, and we listen, and that's a big deal.
That was product expert CHRIS MCNULTY giving us the lowdown on all things Hertz audio motorcycle related. So if you're interested in any of the products that we talked about or covered in today's show, I'm going to encourage you to reach out to electromediausa.com. If you happen to be in the US, they are the American distributors of the product. And if you happen to be a dealer tuning in from Canada, well, then you're going to connect with the folks at Automob. Automob.ca is where you're going to find them. Now, on that note, you saw his lovely hands earlier. We're going to talk to the man himself right now, Phil Cameron. Phil, my question for you is, of all the products that we covered today, and I know those lid kits are probably going to come up because they're so unique looking, what are some of the standout products, in your opinion, that we covered today?
Well, Ben, you guessed it correctly. To me, in today's presentation, the lid kit, yeah, it's pretty nice. I love how Electromedia USA took a very different approach with the design and look of that kit. So it has that little European feel to it. And by adding these three kits that we talked about earlier, it's going to add a complete solution for all of our dealers. So you will be able to offer everything for your Harley, all within the Hertz family. So you'll be able to choose from an entry-level plug-and-play kit if you choose to, or if you're more of a custom guy and you want to add a set of bullet tweeters, you can do so. And let's not forget the DSP, where it's still an option if you wanted to make it sound good. As Chris mentioned, the DSP is where all the magic is, and it's super tiny. It will fit in all your install.
Now, Phil, from a dealer's perspective, what advantages are there when it comes to becoming a Hertz dealer and the relationship or the support that Automob can provide in this situation?
Great question, Ben. This will address specifically for the Canadian dealer, as it is a service that we offer at Automobility. If you're familiar with Harley-Davidson audio, you probably heard that sometimes you need to reflash the factory head unit of said motorcycle to make the sound flat, so you can add your speaker and your DSP and make sure that everything sounds good. And to do so, you need a specific tool. That tool is somewhat expensive, and not everybody has it. It is a tool from a company called Techno Research called the Centurion. If you don't have one of those at your shop and you want to give a try to one of the fantastic kits that Chris just mentioned, please be advised or aware that us at Automobility, we have multiple units available here, and we do offer a rental program. That's right. You can still get the job done. All you got to do is talk to your Automobility rep. It will form to you the procedure. We will rent you one for a 7-day period, which will give you enough time for you to do your install, recalibrate the head unit, and do whatever modification that you want. Included with the package is a slip for you to put it back on the box and ship it back to us. And this way, it will allow you to get the job done. If after you do the install, you decide that you're getting really, really serious with Harley kits and you want to procure for yourself one of those Centurion flasher device, we have them for sale as well. So just make sure that you reach out to your Automobility rep.
That is some serious support. And if I was a dealer, you guys tuning in, I would certainly take advantage of this unique offer that Automobility is offering you guys. Now, I think the last question I'm going to ask you, Phil, how is availability on some of these products that we talked about here for the Canadian market looking?
This is a trick question. So I will answer like any typical rep, is it available? When is it going to be available? My answer is yes. No, all joking aside, we are supposed to receive them very, very shortly, making them available very shortly. I don't have an exact date, but they're on the way. As soon as our American counterpart gets them, we will get our shipment and they'll make it available to you. Reach out to your rep. He will tell you exactly when these kits are available for you to try.
And there you have it, guys. Hertz Audio in the motorcycle audio space. I want to give a quick shout out to CHRIS MCNULTY, as well as Steve Bolden, and my man Phil Cameron over at Automob for all being part of the show today. Again, if you happen to be a dealer in the US, you're going to want to reach out to our friends at Electromedia USA. And if you happen to be a Canadian dealer, Automobility is who you want to connect to. That's it for this CMA Networks presentation, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM with over 150 channels in your vehicle. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.